Welcome. This is Subject to Existing Debt Spreadsheet video tutorial number 3. My name is Jeffrey Smith. This is the Subject to Existing Debt spreadsheet. I want to show a different way of using it about analyzing different kinds of debt structures so that you can do a nothing down deal. This example is derived from Tyler Hicks' book, How to Make Big Money in Real Estate, page 108, where he talks about mortgaging out. In the example, we use the blended financing worksheet to describe the parameters of a primary debt first position loan and a secondary loan that is equal to the seller's apparent equity in the property. Now, the first position loan here is called a refinance loan, or it could be existing debt, doesn't matter. We show it's a 5.25% annual rate, amortized over 360 periods, $600,000, and we want it to mature in 10 years, 120 periods. The junior debt is an installment loan that you ask the seller to acquire on the property. Here's the interest rate, 7.88%. For 10 years, due in 10 years, it's $200,000, and it fully amortizes, so there's nothing left at the end. Now, the blended debt is a wraparound note. We show that the present value is $800,000. That's the sum of the primary debt and the secondary debt. The periodic payment is the sum of the primary payment and the secondary payment. And we want it to mature in 10 years. This is the shorter term of these two debt positions. And we see the future value, $705,765. There's also a total number of payments of 120 times the periodic payment comes to $687,253. So the wrap of these two loans produces $1,393,018 in cash flow. Now we subtract the primary payment stream up here, $397,586. That's the periodic payment times the number of periods to maturity. And we subtract the future value of the primary debt. We're assuming that this primary debt is not a seller carry note, it's some other institutional debt that's on the property, and it has to be paid off when the installment loan is completely redeemed. So we subtract these two values, and we show that the net cash at maturity to the seller is $503,742. Now, we also included a down payment of $80,000 for $583,742. That's almost 3 times the seller's apparent equity, $200,000. Now, his effective yield on lending his equity to you is 25.84%, and I'll show you how that's calculated. Up here in the formula, we're calculating the annual rate, so it's 12 times the periodic rate. The maturity period, 120 periods. He's receiving a secondary periodic payment of $2413.89. The primary payment goes all to the first lender. So he's only receiving $2,413 a month. Now, the present value of what he's lending us is $200,000 minus the down payment. So he's really lending only $120,000. Now, the maturity value would be the net cash at maturity, $503,742, minus the total payments that he received, which means that he's actually getting back more at maturity than the $200,000. So it's like he's offering a deficit interest loan. Now we take this 25% secondary loan and we specify a mortgage cash out value of that amount. Renovation costs are calculated at the number of dwelling units times the renovation cost per unit. You specify that cost down here. This is a 30-unit property. We're calculating about a 1% closing cost and a 10% down payment. And the net cash out to you is $37,000 at closing. So you're offering to buy the property for $800,000 if the seller will lend you $200,000 from his secondary installment loan that he acquired. You will give back to him at closing $80,000. You'll use $8,000 for closing costs. You'll use $75,000 for renovation costs to fix up the property, and you'll pocket $37,000 that you can use in your operating account to cover miscellaneous costs. Well, this is the hidden secret of wraparound notes, because you are wrapping different notes with different parameters and different maturities. You can actually show that if the seller lends you his $200,000 not as just a junior note, but as a wraparound, he's actually getting 25.84% yield on his investment. And since this is a commercial investment, not a residential, at least in my state of Colorado, this would be an okay financing structure. It would not violate usury laws. For residential property, the effective yield on junior financing cannot exceed 21%. Now we go over to Microsoft Word. Let's bring in the special letter of intent for commercial properties. And we see here we're offering to buy for $800,000. We want the seller to give us $200,000 at closing, and we'll give back $80,000 for a 10% down payment. We'll cash out $37,000, pay closing costs of $8,000. We'll also cash out $75,000 for renovation. That will go into an escrow account or whatever we want to fund the renovations. And so we see that it all adds up, that we're offering to pay $800,000 and the seller's essentially offering us $800,000 in financing, 100% financing. The same parameters for the first position and second position financing and the wraparound. And this is where you draw the attention of the seller. You say, look, if you lend the money to me in this way, your investment will be earning effectively 25.84% over 10 years. You're putting in $200,000, which you're borrowing against the property, and I will make the payments on that loan. And then you're getting back a yield of 25.84%. So you'll get back more money than what you lent me, plus you're getting $80,000 at closing. This is just one of the many ways that you can use this spreadsheet to structure nothing down deals. This has been Subject to Existing Debt video tutorial number 3. My name is Jeffrey Smith, and thank you for your support.